Hi everyone, my name is Susan Sterling, and these are my journal article critiques. The first article that I chose was called "The First Year as Teachers Assigned to Elementary and Middle School Special Education Classrooms." And this was a qualitative study that examined the accomplishments, joys, difficulties, and frustrations of first-year teachers. And the 10 participants worked in self-contained elementary or middle school classrooms designated for students with moderate to severe disabilities. The reason that I chose this article was that I am a first year teacher, and the program that I work in is considered self contained, and my students have severe disabilities. So I thought this really applied to me, and I wanted to see if there were some common threads that I see and that I've experienced that other first year teachers in a similar program to me also experienced. So the methods were that data was collected for a year from these participants, and they were asked to provide informational data about their students and about the program that they worked in. They participated in monthly conversations in small groups, and they also participated in focus groups. The common themes that the researchers found were that some students were placed in programs solely because of challenging behaviors, which I have experienced. I have a student that is in my program that I work in, and there is no true need for him to be in the program. He has challenging behaviors, but for him to learn and grow, he does not need functional learning. He, in my opinion, could go into the general education classroom and with peer support could be totally fine. I think that happens a lot to us in the special ed world, where students are placed in our programs inappropriately. And of course, as teachers, we do our best to give them what they need and serve them. But, there's only so much you can do with the resources that you have. So that was a common theme. Another common theme was that a lot of teachers weren't happy with the things that they inherited with the job. So they found that previous teachers in their positions had very low expectations of their staff and students, and a lot of the materials were outdated, and there was no true curriculum for their program. They also found that the teachers really focused on redefining their job and the expectations of not only their students, but their staff and their administration in their school. And they really wanted to advocate for and educate the general education teachers and administration about the importance of inclusion and what it looks like and what it really is and the benefits of it. Another thing that was a common theme was that all of the teachers celebrated student successes and saw a lot of improvement with their students. So, yeah. My second article is called "The Use of Visual Supports to Increase Task Independence in Students with Severe Disabilities in Inclusive Educational Settings." The study examined if the use of visual supports increased independence both with and without systematic teaching of the visual supports. And then the purpose was to find out whether visual support intervention was effective. I love visuals. If you go into my classroom, it is just filled with visuals. I have some on my lanyard that I use. All of my students have visual schedules. There's visuals taped to their desks, to each table, to the walls, in the bathroom, by the sink, by their cubbies, everywhere. I think that I'm a big believer in if you put forth the work beforehand, it'll be less work for you later. So up front, it's a lot of work to get the visuals prepared and ready and to teach the kids how to use them. But in the long run, I kind of have a self-running classroom. I don't have to tell students where they should be. I don't have to tell students what they should be doing. They check their schedule. They know where to go. They match it to the place where they should be at. And, if I'm having a challenging behavior, I'll use my visuals to help get that student back on track. I love visuals. So this study really spoke to me. The methods for this study were individual task analysis were created for each of the students that were a part of the study. The participants were introduced to the visual support in 3 different phases. So in phase 1, they just took the baseline data of whatever task that student was being asked to perform, and each task was different. All of the participants had a task analysis that had 10 steps, but whatever the task was individualized to that student and their needs. In phase 2, the participants were given the visual support, so they were simply handed the task analysis. It wasn't explained to them, it wasn't talked about, they were just handed it and then asked to complete the task. And then in phase 3, participants were systematically taught how to use the visual support. And the researchers took data based on each step of the task analysis, and they would document whether it was independent, which meant that no prompts were needed from adults. And most of the participants, their baseline data was below 40% independent. When they were given the visual support, it increased slightly, but it wasn't significant and it wasn't sustained. And then during phase 3, all of the participants had an increase in their independence. The range was 74% to 92% independent, which I thought was pretty awesome. So the results and findings, which I just talked about, all participants increased independence when systematically taught how to use the visual support. And then sustained increase in independence only happened when the visual support was paired with the systematic teaching of the visual. I have seen, in my experience, many teachers use visuals, but not teach visuals. We can't expect our kids to know how to use a visual. We need to show them over and over how to use it, and that's an important piece I think that's missing from a lot of educators when they're using visual supports and wondering why they're not working. So I was happy to see that this study talked about that. And that is the end of my presentation. Bye.